On the night of March 23, 2012, a blaring alarm shattered the quiet of the International Space Station. Ground control had just detected a massive, untrackable meteoroid hurtling directly toward them. The 6 astronauts on board immediately dropped their work. Following emergency protocols, they sealed themselves inside 2 tiny Soyuz lifeboats. They strapped in and waited for a collision that could vaporize their home in an instant. That specific rock ended up missing the station by just a few kilometers. But this narrow miss is a daily reality. The ISS constantly navigates an orbital minefield, surrounded by millions of pieces of lethal, high-speed debris. This sprawling structure is a $50 billion marvel of engineering. Yet if a single piece of space dust the size of a needle punctures the hull, the pressure difference would cause the station's atmosphere to violently rush out into the vacuum. Even getting to this precarious outpost is a physical ordeal. Astronauts must survive the crushing G-forces of a rocket launch, only to arrive and immediately face severe bodily disorientation. Without gravity to ground them, their brains receive conflicting signals, leading to intense nausea and vertigo. Given that surviving on the ISS requires dodging lethal space rocks in a vacuum while battling chronic physical illness, why does humanity spend billions to keep sending people into this floating trap? 400 kilometers above Earth, there is no atmosphere and no groundwater. Every single element required to keep a human alive has to be engineered within a completely closed-loop survival system. This means every drop of liquid is fiercely conserved. To survive, the crew drinks a filtered, recycled loop of their own sweat and urine. The station creates air from wastewater using electrolysis. Electrical currents force water molecules to break apart. The oxygen is captured for the air supply. If this machine stops, the ISS becomes an unbreathable tomb. But air and water are only half the battle. Without gravity forcing the body to support its own weight, human physiology rapidly deteriorates. Muscles begin to atrophy, and bones lose their density, slowly hollowing out from the inside. At the same time, a fluid shift takes place. Blood and fluids that normally pool toward the legs start drifting toward the head. This generates immense cranial pressure that presses against the optic nerve, slowly degrading the astronaut's vision. To slow this decay, the crew is forced into a brutal countermeasure. Every single day, they must strap themselves down with elastic tethers and endure 2 hours of exhausting physical exercise. Simple existence, breathing and maintaining a skeleton, is not a given up here. It is a grueling daily battle against an environment actively trying to dismantle the human body. This physical toll is compounded by the severe psychological disorientation driven by the station's orbital velocity. Traveling 28,000 kilometers per hour, the ISS orbits Earth every 90 minutes. The crew sees 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every 24 hours. This constant flickering shatters the human sleep cycle. To prevent mental breakdowns, Mission Control in Houston monitors every minute of the astronaut schedules, keeping them completely occupied with tasks to maintain their focus. While the crew manages the psychological strain inside, the station defends against physical threats outside. The walls of the ISS are built with multiple overlapping layers, designed like a bulletproof vest to absorb the kinetic energy of space dust. For larger cataclysmic debris, the station uses massive, rapidly spinning internal gyroscopes. By adjusting the speed and direction of these heavy wheels, ground control can generate enough momentum to shift the station's entire orbit without burning fuel. The ISS is a fortress that must simultaneously repel external impacts and preserve the internal sanity of its crew. The ISS is not merely a habitation outpost. It is a deliberate, high-stakes stress test for the human species. The astronauts are the subjects of the research. Their hollowing bones, their recycled water, and their psychological strain are the primary data points. Humanity must understand these limits in low Earth orbit before attempting the years-long journey to Mars. On that mission, there will be no quick rescue and no support from Earth. These astronauts endure this environment to prove that humans can survive the transit. The only true peace the crew finds is looking down through the cupola window. Seeing the blue curvature and swirling clouds of the planet they left behind provides a rare reminder of home. But this research phase has a strict expiration date. After decades in an unforgiving environment, the $50 billion station is scheduled for retirement around 2030. The deorbiting plan for the station is final. Engineers will intentionally push the structure down into Earth's atmosphere, where intense friction will cause it to catch fire and violently break apart. The charred remnants will plunge into the ocean at Point Nemo, a stretch of the Pacific that is geographically the most isolated location on the planet. The destruction of the ISS marks a necessary closing chapter. It is the end of humanity's first orbital laboratory, a sacrifice that provides the data needed for permanent settlement beyond Earth's orbit.